Okay, so have you ever felt like your brain is just a browser with 100 tabs open all at once? Yeah? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place. We're about to dive deep into Ugochukwu U Uche's book, Rewire Your ADHD Brain, and we're going to unpack all the practical, hands-on strategies he's designed to help turn that chaos into some real clarity and focus. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll explore how you can reframe your mindset, literally rewire your thinking, organize your world, and, this is the big one, build a life that actually works with your brain instead of against it. By the time we're done here, you're going to have a solid roadmap to start making some real, lasting changes. All right, let's kick things off with what might be the most important part of this whole thing, the story you tell yourself. For so long, an ADHD diagnosis has been framed as this list of deficits. Uche comes along and argues that this isn't just unhelpful, it's just plain wrong. And shifting that perspective, that's the very first and probably the most powerful step you can take to rewire your brain. I mean, what if those rapid-fire thoughts weren't a distraction at all, but actually a source of incredible creativity? Uche tells this great story about an artist who felt totally scattered until she realized her brain's ability to just jump between ideas was her greatest asset. It's what allowed her to create this prolific, multi-layered work. See, it's all about harnessing your unique wiring. So to get started, he suggests something called an attention diary. For 1 week, just observe. Don't judge, just observe. When are you most focused? When do you drift off? This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about gathering clues. Kind of like a detective trying to understand your own personal operating system, but with a whole lot of self-compassion. Okay, so now that we've started to see our brain as an ally, not an enemy, how do we actually begin the rewiring process? Right? Well, this next part is all about the tools, and we're going to start with the incredible science behind something called neural plasticity. Here's the thing you have to get. Your brain isn't fixed. It's not set in stone. It's constantly adapting. And every single time you challenge an old thought pattern, you are, and this is literally true, physically building a new road in your brain. How cool is that? And one of the best tools for that big construction project is a simplified version of cognitive behavioral therapy that Uche calls the ABC framework. Let's walk through it together. So imagine you're staring down a big project. The A, the antecedent, is that unhelpful thought that just pops up out of nowhere. Aw man, I'm gonna mess this up. The B, the behavior, is to deconstruct it. Ask yourself, why do I think that? Maybe it's a fear of failure, or maybe you're just feeling totally overwhelmed. Now here comes the crucial part. The C, the consequence. This is where you craft a balanced, realistic counterthought. And this is key. Instead of some vague, you can do it, positive affirmation, you use actual evidence. You say something like, hang on, I've met deadlines before when I break tasks into smaller pieces. See the difference? This isn't just wishful thinking, it's a fact-based strategy. And that's what builds that new, more helpful pathway in your brain. But this rewiring stuff isn't just internal. Your external world, it plays a huge role. Think about it. A cluttered desk often equals a cluttered mind, right? Uche tells this story of a freelance writer whose office was just pure chaos, and it was leading to missed deadlines. And the fix wasn't some massive weekend overhaul. Nope. It was 15-minute micro declutter sprints. She created a simple command center for her projects. She used a one-touch rule, deal with mail or a file immediately, and bam, her focus and productivity just soared. So what about forgetfulness? We all deal with that, right? Well, Uche introduces this super powerful ancient tool called the memory palace. Let's try a quick one right now. Say you need to remember to buy eggs, call your mom, and pick up the dry cleaning, okay? Picture your house. At the front door, I want you to imagine a giant talking egg blocking your way. You can't miss it. Then, in the kitchen, your mom is sitting right there at the table, pointing at the phone. And in your bedroom, your favorite shirt is hanging up, but it's wrapped in that crinkly, dry cleaning plastic. Boom! You've just placed your to-dos in a memorable visual map inside your head. All right, so we've got tools for our thoughts and for our space. That's great. But what about those moments when our impulses or emotions just threaten to take over completely? You know what I'm talking about. The absolute key here is to create a moment of pause. That's it. Just a few seconds can be the difference between a thoughtful response and, well, a regretful reaction. And to do that, Uche gives us something called the pause protocol. I want you to think of this as your mental emergency brake. So you're about to make that impulse purchase online. Instead, you stop. Just stop. Take one deep breath. Then observe the urge without judgment. Wow, I really want that right now. And finally, you plan. Okay, I'll put it in the cart and decide in 24 hours. That simple 4-step process, it puts you right back in the driver's seat. And sometimes it's not even an impulse buy, it's a huge wave of emotion, anxiety, frustration, just that feeling of overwhelm. This is often called an amygdala hijack. So let's say you get a really stressful email. Before you react, you use these 4 anchors. First, you name it. Okay, this is anxiety. Believe it or not, just labeling it reduces its power. Second, you ground it. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This totally pulls you out of your head and into the present moment. You follow that with some self-compassion, a quick reset, and you'll feel that storm start to pass. Okay, so we've learned how to manage those tough moments. Now let's get proactive. Let's build the systems that create more good moments automatically. This is where we stop just reacting and we start architecting our lives for success. You know how generic advice like just have a morning routine doesn't really work for everyone? Well, Uche's 3-2-1 framework is way more flexible. Let's design one right now. Your 3 core rituals might be planning your top task in the morning, taking a 10-minute walk at lunch, and doing a quick 5-minute tidy up at the end of the day. Simple. Your 2 mini habits could be stacking something new, like drinking a glass of water, onto a habit you already have, like turning off your morning alarm. And your 1 weekly ritual? Maybe a Sunday evening review to see what worked and what didn't. It's a simple but really powerful structure. And a huge part of that structure is your environment. Uche suggests becoming a focus detective with something he calls a focus audit. For a few days, just notice what pulls you away. Is it that little ping from your phone? The clutter on the corner of your desk? Once you identify the culprits, you can start to engineer your space. Look, for one person, that might mean noise-canceling headphones. For somebody else, it's turning off all notifications for 2 hours of deep work. The whole point is to create an environment where focus is actually the easiest option. So far, we've covered mindset, tools, and systems, which is awesome. But let's be real. None of it works if the hardware, your actual brain and body, isn't running properly. So now, let's talk about the biological foundations of focus. First up, sleep. It is absolutely non-negotiable. The single biggest lever you can pull for better sleep is a consistent wake-up time. Yes, even on weekends. This is what sets your body's internal clock. A tech curfew, no screens for an hour before bed, is also crucial. When it comes to nutrition, think protein first in the morning to fuel that all-important dopamine, and slow-release carbs to keep your energy steady. And for movement, it doesn't have to be an hour at the gym. Seriously, a 5-minute burst of jumping jacks between meetings can be enough to totally reset your brain and boost your focus. And our digital environment is just as important as our physical one. I mean, take a look at your phone right now. How many different apps do you have for notes, for tasks, for calendars? The tech triage method is all about choosing a champion. Pick one app for tasks, just one for notes, then delete or hide the rest. This isn't about avoiding technology, not at all. It's about curating a simple, powerful digital toolkit that actually serves you instead of completely overwhelming you. Wow, we've covered a ton of strategies, haven't we? But the big question is, how do you make it all stick for the long haul? The final piece of this puzzle is all about creating systems for maintenance and, maybe most importantly, for resilience. And this next idea, it's a total game changer. Listen, you are going to have off days. You will fall back into old habits. It happens. The old mindset calls that failure. But the relapse resilience plan, it calls it data. So you missed your morning routine. Instead of beating yourself up, you just get curious. You ask, okay, what happened? Was I up too late? Did I not prepare the night before? All of a sudden, a setback becomes a clue for your next adjustment, not a reason to quit. It is all about progress, not perfection. And really, that's the core message of this whole thing. This isn't about fixing a broken brain. It's about understanding your own unique cognitive wiring and then building a life that leverages its strengths. By layering all these strategies we've talked about, from mindset shifts and cognitive tools, all the way to environmental design and self-care, you're creating a personalized system, one that fosters focus, creativity, and resilience. So if you want to go even deeper on this stuff, Driven to Distraction is a foundational classic for really understanding the why behind ADHD. Atomic Habits, that's a masterclass in the science of habit formation, and you'll see how Uche's frameworks build on those ideas. And podcasts like ADHD Essentials are great for providing that ongoing sense of community and a steady stream of practical tips. Remember, every small change you make is a new connection being forged in your brain. It's a step toward a future that you design on your own terms. So after looking at everything we've covered today, I have one last question for you. Which wire will you choose to rewire first?